Hi friends, this is Aylin Aydin, your astrologer and tarot reader, and this is your seasonal tarot reading for the spring of 2021. In this seasonal tarot reading, there's a couple of things that we're going to be going over. So I'm going to outline every single one of those things that we're going to be going over before we get started. So this reading covers everything you need to know for the spring season of 2021. The first thing that we're going to start out with, though, is a collective message reading with all of the elements. And as we go through the elements and through the cards that I have pulled for the elements, I will be explaining what it all means. The second thing that we're going to go over is the tarot reading for your personal sign that covers each of the lunar phases during this season. The first phase that we're going to be focusing on is the new cycle beginning with the new moon in Aries. The second phase we'll focus on is the new cycle beginning with the new moon in Taurus. And then the third phase that we're going to be focusing on is the new cycle that begins with the new moon in Gemini. Let's get started with the collective message. Now, the collective message is going to consist of 5 elements that we're going to cover for this entire season. It is going to be fire, water, earth, air, and space. And as we cover these, I'm going to give more examples of what the elements stand for. Now, majority of us already know or have a relationship to these elements that I'm going to be going over. But if you're drawn to certain elements, make sure you come back and listen to them again. Or you could also just put together a bigger kind of message for yourself through your sun, moon, or rising sign. Now, the very first thing that I'm going to be covering is the element of fire. Fire stands for the self, for our body, for the way in which we use our strength, mind, body, spirit all together to put things into action. It's also an element that stands for action. And the collective message here, the 2 tarot cards that fell out, was the 4 of Swords and the 8 of Pentacles reversed. So what we can expect during this spring season is that we're going to feel a little bit restless. We're also going to feel restless because we're trying to figure out and narrow down what it is that we should be focusing on. And I think that that is the reason why this was reversed, because a lot of our focus during this spring season is going to be on everything that we're trying to accomplish, or we're trying to ignite a new path. So there is sort of this moment here where a lot of our actions will be sort of coming with a lot of intensity. And I think that it's also going to be focusing a lot on just giving ourselves an opportunity to begin again and to move forward again. Now, with the fire element, there is also an oracle card that I have felt drawn to pull for this spring season, and that is the dolphin. And it says, embrace your inner child. And I really feel that what this message is all about is that we are to look at the things that we truly, truly love. Now let's move on to the water element. The water element, there's a bunch of cards that fell out here. So we're going to go through it one by one. The water element is our emotions, but really what is being reflected in our day-to-day. What kind of emotional currency are we going to be moving through all throughout this season? I think that when we are coming up to the full moon in the first lunar cycle, what we are discovering is that there is a strength that is returning within us. The Queen of Wands fell out. It's really just going to be about a strength, or we're going to discover a moment here. It's going to be an aha moment that, you know, gives us sort of an answer that we have been looking for, and it reignites our faith. That's what I'm seeing here with the Queen of Wands. The second card that fell out is the 7 of Wands reversed. I think that we're going to feel quite kind of tired by the time we get to that full moon. The reason for that is because, again, the energies are very intense during the beginning of this spring season with that new moon cycle in Aries. And there's just a lot that we're trying to accomplish in a short period of time. So it seems that's what the cards are showing us here. But even if even if we take a look at the astrological transits, that is what we're seeing as well. We're moving forward. The energy is moving us forward. And so what we are discovering during this time is that this is our opportunity to step into our destiny, our fate. There's a lot of fated events that might be unfolding in your life. And if this really speaks to you, this is going to be a moment where you have to sort of take a moment to gauge if this opportunity is worth pursuing, right? Because opportunities are going to be arising, but not every opportunity is going to bring us what we're looking for. And so here you must remind yourself of the past. Five of Cups. The Five of Cups is basically saying, are you repeating something from the past because you're trying to, get a particular emotion back into your life? But does it have to come through this one thing? Does it have to be through this one person? Does it have to be through this one company, this one, job, this one path that you thought all of your life would be the only way that you would feel accomplished? The Five of Cups here is saying, is this really what it is that you're trying to accomplish, or are you repeating the past? Make sure you're listening to your heart. Make sure you're listening to the clues, right? Like take a moment to gather all the information and then see emotionally what feels right. Because, your own inner heart wisdom knows the answers. And I think that's what the Five of Cups is saying here. You must take the past into consideration. Now, the spiritual guidance card is Sandbar. Okay, it says discovery of new pathways and opportunities. Yes, absolutely. There is going to be new pathways and opportunities. But again, we must actually look for those opportunities as well during the season. So a lot of it will come to us. But then if you feel that you're repeating the past, there is going to be another way. There is going to be another way. And you must stay open in order to see it. And that's what I'm seeing here. So emotionally, what are we taking a look at? We're taking a look at, focusing on being hopeful and focusing on being curious, focusing on love. Do we love it? Yes, no. That is how we're gauging all throughout this spring season. For the earth element, the one tarot card that fell out here is the Two of Wands. This is so interesting because I really feel that we are going to be looking at how to put value back into our life through the lens of where we belong emotionally. Where do we belong in the world emotionally? What is it we desire? Who are the people that need to be in our lives or that we envision that are in our lives, right? So these are the things that we're going to be looking at. I also feel like a lot of us will be finding new sets of values because our values have changed. So that is another really big thing, I think, with the Two of Wands. It's a very simple message for the earth element. Now, for the spiritual advice, we have Poseidon. Emotions are intense. Be cautious of how you treat others. So I really do feel that because we're going to be in a very passionate season, I think that what a lot of us can expect is that we're going to be clearing a lot of misunderstandings in our relationship dynamics. That's number one. I also think that we're going to be clearing the way for us to know now where we emotionally belong in the future. I think that that is going to be a very big role based on our values. We're to ground ourselves in this area emotionally and to look for genuine connection. I think that is going to be another really, really big part here. Now, the other thing that I'm seeing with this Poseidon card is that there is sort of this moment where we could be creating a storm in our lives, which is what Poseidon really represented anyway in Greek mythology. He was feared for being the person that created storms. And so I think that what we are to watch out for is how we're communicating our values to other people, because during this time, we could be emotionally very sharp. And what we're saying could really hurt another person. And so I think that we have to be mindful of how we are communicating what it is that we feel on the inside out there. There is also going to be new information that is going to come up that will help everyone to connect the dots. There is more information that's coming up for the collective, for out into the open, for people to see, that will allow for us to connect the dots. This will have to do with science. This will have to do with scientific research. This will also have to do with anything that needs more scientific research. And so I think that during this time, we're going to feel very passionate. For the air element, our intellect, the way in which we are going to be thinking, the way in which we might communicate, or the way in which we get inspired, we have the 9 of Wands. I think that what we're realizing is that there are certain things in our lifestyle that we are now seeing in the collective way that is just not worth defending anymore, or is worth defending. So we're going to have both sides here. I also am seeing with the spiritual advice card, Bird of Paradise, embark on a new adventure. Yes, there are going to be new ways in which we're wanting to dissolve past boundaries so that we can live our life in a different kind of a way. So there could be moments where you might just sort of decide that you want to do something very different because the opportunity presents itself. And I think that the way that you want to do this something different is going to come through is by you getting sort of a piece of communication that empowers you. I think we can really count on that, especially during May when we get into that new moon cycle, or that entire phase with the new moon beginning in Taurus. I think what's going to happen is that we're going to be in this place where we're going to want to reach further beyond what we used to do in our day-to-day. And now that opportunity is there. Now we're wanting to grab that opportunity and we want to go with it. I also think that there is going to be a lot of people that will start to share what has happened to them in the last year and a half, who they've become, who they've seen, what has happened, to them, and what exactly the shifts are that are happening within them. For the last element, which is space. Space basically representing what are we to hold space for in our lives during this particular season. The one card, tarot card that fell out is the Page of Wands. And that is interesting. The Page of Wands is like a new learning curve about ourselves. So we're going to continue to learn more about who we're becoming. We're also going to be continuing to learn about how to trust the actions that we're taking. I think that there is this moment where we are to trust, especially right before the eclipse, we are to trust that what is happening and what is unfolding in our lives is exactly what is meant to be. Because some things are fate, and then some things will also mix with fate and our free will, obviously. But here, the Page of Wands basically says, look, you have to trust the feeling that you have. You have to trust the value that you have in your life. And it is leading you, it is guiding you somewhere. And it might be a new intimate connection that you have with people, with your career, with certain values in your life, and you are to trust it. And the spiritual message cards, there's 3 of them that came out. The first one is anchor. Be hopeful, choose optimism. I think that there can be some cynicism that could come up, right? If the card were to be reversed, if we don't take the opportunity, even though the energies are very good and the energies will be guiding us into a new perspective that we can anchor into, that we can have faith and hope over, that we can have optimism over. So as the collective, we are learning how to trust the actions that are being taken. And then there's also going to be moments where we're going to see who we cannot trust. Because it always goes both ways, right? It's not just one way, like everything is rainbows and lollipops, it is going to go both ways. And so I think that there is going to be moments where we will actually see that we cannot trust this one person, or we've trusted the wrong kind of, situation. And so that is going to come up as well. And the second spiritual message for trust and holding, new kinds of trust in our life is the fish. And again, the foundation for it is going to be, what are we trusting? Who are we trusting? And first and foremost, are we trusting ourselves so that the balance can come in? The third spiritual message is the starfish. Trust your instincts. So what's interesting about the starfish is that the starfish is a very complex creature. It actually doesn't have a brain. It has a very complex nervous system. The starfish also speaks about the fact that when we take a look at the starfish and the life of the starfish in and of itself, it relies on its environment for survival. So these types of themes are going to be coming up. The space that we're coming into, especially when we get into the Gemini season, there is going to be moments where we're going to realize that there are certain dependencies that we have in our environment that are being betrayed. And because they're being betrayed, we are now to trust a new path. We're now to trust something else. And where is that something else going to come from? You know, this is what we're looking at with the starfish, right? There is a betrayal of some sort that is going on to the values that we used to hold, or we thought we were putting all of our trust into this one thing in our environment, whether that's the food industry, whether that is some kind of, area of our life specific to where we live in our environment, that now we see is actually not what it is. And I think that with the starfish, it is hope. The message is hope that we can overcome betrayal. And the way that we can do that is by bringing the communication, or bringing basically an appreciation back to respecting ourselves and nature, respecting our environment, respecting the very thing that has been, where the boundary has been crossed. I think that's what we're seeing with the starfish here. It's really, really interesting. So between these three, anchoring down, finding the balance, and the starfish, there is something big that is going to start to come up in Gemini season, new forms of communication in your particular environment that will impact or have an impact that is not so favorable. And it has to do with some kind of betrayal, or some kind of, where the boundaries are being crossed for money, where there is sort of actions being taken without the consideration of the greater good. Something like this is going to be coming up during Gemini season. And I think that what we are being asked here is to hold space for that to happen, because sometimes we just don't know that certain things are going on in the background. So this is something that is going on in the background that is going to come up to the surface. And I think that what we are to do is actually hold space for that, because we are to help each other during this season to really come back to our center, a center to respect who we are, and a center to respect what is happening in our lives. Because when things go in the wrong direction, we need a moment to actually see why they went into the wrong direction. So I think that the starfish is communicating that through this card right here. So that's what I'm seeing here for the space element. Now, before we dive into your sign, I do want to quickly mention that I do offer readings in person, and I also do video recordings that I do send to you with a private link. And if you would like to book any of my readings, that information is in the description box below. Right now, I do have a tarot reading, which is a video recording that I do for you personally, that is on sale, 30% off. So if you're interested in working with me a little bit closer, then you can book that reading. And everything that you need to know, again, is either at upriseastrology.com or in the description box below. So now let's take a look at your personal zodiac sign. You can listen to your sun, moon, or rising, or you can listen to all three if you know it, to kind of get a bigger reading and to know what is going to be coming up over the next 3 months. All right, Leo, so here are all of the cards. This is, again, I just want to remind you, the beginning of the new moon in Aries from April 11th until the moon starts to finish that transit May 10th. So this is going to cover everything from April 11th until May 10th. So the first thing that we see here, we have a lot of cards that are reversed. And no need to freak out, because sometimes, when we see those cards reversed, we just tend to think the worst. But I want to point out to you that this is a time where you are actually going to find some closure with a particular relationship. Now, the thing that I want to also point out is that we see a lot of sword cards. The sword cards are, really just about our mindset. So a lot of what you're going to be doing during this cycle is that you're taking a look at your belief and how that belief actually shapes your mindset. And they are very much tied to, so that's how this, basically this moon cycle, at the very foundation of it, there is a situation that is incomplete in regards to really telling this person how you feel, or the impacts of this person have left sort of this, you know, a situation within you that creates sort of this way of talking to yourself that you are now becoming aware of, that you are now moving away from. So I think that for majority of you, this will have to do with a business relationship, or relationship where money was tied in. We see that with the Six of Pentacles reversed. The Six of Pentacles reversed, I believe that this is a situation that is coming back from the past, simply because that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. And also I am seeing that you thought that this person was actually someone that had sort of this persona or this character. So then they proved to you that they were just in it to kind of advance themselves. And I think that you are processing all, like this entire moon phase, that very particular thing. And we see that with the Four of Swords. That's the awareness that you're getting, is that, you know, now sort of those emotions are coming up for a reason, because you are working on emotional, you know, comfort more in your life. You are working on sort of making decisions. There's decisions that you're gearing up towards, that you will be taking action on. So what we see here is that all month long, you're working sort of a situation with the Temperance card reversed. And this is, for many of you, it'll be tied to the past. And for some of you, it will just remind you of a past situation that you've lived once before. Now, with the Six of Pentacles, I think that what you are really looking at is your agreements with other people. Or maybe if you're working on a team with other people, or people that are around you, where there is shared money or shared money as a situation, and you could also be the person that is paying other people. There is sort of a situation here where the pay isn't equal, or they're not giving you what it is that you deserve, or someone basically comes to you and says, I actually deserve more, when you know that in reality, you know, you couldn't be paying them more money. You are already giving them everything to the max, if that makes sense. So there's this situation from the past, kind of that feeling that comes back, where you're making realizations and having a very like deep self-reflective moment throughout this month, where you're saying to yourself, you know, you are actually a lot more emotional about these types of relationships than what you realized. And the impacts of those relationships are becoming a lot more of an awareness. You know, the lack of support is what it is that you're sort of noticing here, and how it actually impacts everything else that you do. And so I think these are the first three cards that we're taking a look at when it comes to this entire cycle. I think that what you're transforming this month is understanding that you're emotionally, you know, very clear. You're clear about, you know, what you trust, who you trust. You're very clear about where to hold those boundaries, and then how far those boundaries go with other people, and also with shared resources, right? Like, there are people in your life that you do have some shared resources with, that you are wanting to protect. And this is very, very important to you. You're not wanting to, you know, repeat the past again. You're not wanting to repeat the situation again that was really just, it didn't make you feel good. And the way that you felt is that there was just this unfairness around it. And that's really what the Temperance card is telling us here. And so there is a communication that will come out of this with the particular relationship that you are now starting, that they might just, they're not treating you fairly. So that conversation is gonna be needed at some point. And I think that that might be a bit of a difficult situation for you. The reason for that is because the Two of Swords reversed here says that it reminds you of a situation where you felt sort of, you know, you couldn't really speak up, or you couldn't really say what it is that you wanted to say because there was sort of a price that you paid for it. And so with the Two of Swords here, we're going to pull some cards to clarify how to navigate this, because I think that this is coming up to kind of give you a little bit more of a sense of freedom, to give you sort of a homecoming when it comes to relationships, because there are things that need to be said that haven't been said. And so it comes to this point, and especially, you know, since this is going to be covering an Aries flavor in this moon cycle, right? It's Martian energy. This is where, you know, you're starting to kind of gear up towards making a decision. For some of you, it will tie into work, in regards to your career, in regards to what it is that you're trying to create. When it comes to your future, moving away more around the things that you thought you wanted, and moving more towards emotional, rewarding situations. I think a lot of you are, you know, working on that, especially during this cycle. You know, you're becoming aware that, you know, you have to sort of move towards those things now, because the situation before wasn't giving you the feeling, the heart feeling that you were hoping you would get. And so this is what you're realizing here with the Two of Swords as well, reversed. I think the most important thing to pay attention to this month is what is sort of still hanging over you. What are the things that feel like they're defeating you, that you actually have the power to overcome? Because a lot of what's happening, I think, in this season for you, Leo, is that you're realizing that you already are building a legacy. And perhaps this situation is making you question yourself, whether you are building a legacy, whether you are taking the right kind of an action. And when I say legacy, you know, this could be in any area, in any situation of your life. There is sort of this fear that has been in the background, whether you have invested your time into the right places. And so I think that you are going to be reviewing reputation towards the end of this moon cycle. I also think that you're going to be, you know, kind of reviewing whether the things that you're spending time in are giving you actually spiritually kind of rewards, you know, as to something that is making you feel love, making you feel, you know, appreciation for what it is that you are experiencing at this time. You know, these are the things that I think that you're looking at. I also think that you can count on people in your life, family members, people that are close to you, that emotionally really have your back. This is a situation where, you know, you're going to put that feeling into this loveless situation. You're realizing that that is the opportunity now for you to break away from this oil and water situation. Oil and water just doesn't mix. Now you can have a container and put it in there, but it's just still not the thing that you really want or desire. And so I think that a lot of this, as an overall overview, that is what we're taking a look at. Now let's dive a little bit deeper. The Temperance card here represents a communication or a particular relationship. This could be someone in an air sign. I get very strong air sign. Also someone that has a lot of goals or ambitions. That is a conversation that you're going to be having in regards to moving forward or letting go of this agreement. It could be contractual, right? It could be a contract that you have with this person, but really it is an obligation towards this person in a financial way. And there is sort of a lot of things that tie into it. Now, for some of you, it's going to be a family situation. And then for some of you, it is going to be a particular relationship that you invested your time into and that you thought you were going to get equal exchange. But what's happening is that you're going to find out that that is actually not what happened. You will find out. And I think that when you find out, your initial reaction to it is that it's sort of like this shock, right? Like, that's not what I believed this whole entire time. So that information surfaces. And when it does, I think that you are going to take a couple of days naturally, like to yourself, because you got to process the information, right? there's something here that happens where you need to find, you know, comfort with the people that you can trust. So I see for a lot of you, you will be leaning on the people that you're trusting so that you can kind of get to the bottom of, you know, how you really feel. So there is going to be that moment here, I think, that is happening as well. I do want to clarify the temperance. So we are going to be using, you know, this playing card deck that represents the cards of truth system that I've learned and also love using. So we're going to be using cards from there. Okay, so we already have 3 cards. We're going to clarify every single one of them. So the temperance reversed is basically saying that this situation with this person reminds you of why you were stuck. Okay, it also directly correlates to how it impacted you as a person. You know, it's like you couldn't do certain things. You couldn't execute certain things because financially you couldn't move on. Financially, it wasn't making sense anymore. Okay, all the finances were draining towards this other person. And we see that here because you had to put a lot of more effort in than you ever had to put in anything. So this situation, I feel like, is encompassing the last, I'm going to say, about 5 to 8 years. Okay, so it might be over, situation might be over, or it's coming back for review so you can really let it go. Okay, now we see the 4 of Swords and the 4 of Clubs. The 4 of Clubs is saying, you know, there is a moment here for you to really get to the bottom of it and feel inspired again to move on. And that is important. Like, you might have moments here where, you know, you might not want to take that time, or you might not want to pay attention to this thing that is kind of knocking on your door right now and saying, hey, you know, this feeling right here that really impacted your, you know, your health even. For some of you, this had to do with health as well. So the reason we're saying that is because we see the spades as an energy. The spades is the suit that represents fire. Fire represents our body and the way in which we take action or not action. And with the 8 of Spades, we see that, you know, you had to really, you committed there. Whatever this person offered to you or whatever this relationship dynamic was, could have also been a love relationship. And then they just, like, you know, once you guys got divorced, they just, you know, they just like went for the money. Could be that kind of a situation as well, you know, touchy subject. And it's coming back for a reason. And the reason why it's coming back is because everything right now is making you aware and appreciate what you have. This situation, this level of resistance that you're experiencing is making you realize who you are and what you have and what you can rely on, what you can really rely on, not only in yourself, but other people. Okay, let's see what the other helpful situation here is going to be for you with that 6 of Cups. You know, whenever, you know, some people are not dog people, but usually with a dog, we also know that the patterns are about loyalty, you know. Okay, so look at this. So the Queen of Spades. I feel like some of you are also going to be seeking advice from someone who is a family member. Maybe this person is a little bit older than you or represents the ability to make decisions based on restoring sort of a sense of dignity. Not that you don't have it, okay? That's not what I'm saying, but, you know, sometimes we seek advice from people who are going to tell us, like, what's up, right? And you have that one conversation and it just changes everything for you. And I think that for a lot of you Leos, that's exactly what you're taking a look at here, is that this person is either older than you, or they have a lot more sort of some kind of access to their own life experience wisdom that is speaking exactly to this situation, and they're helping you to reboot, to make a decision and to start to protect this thing that you've been wanting to protect so that you can also move on. Okay, so I do see that that is, for some of you, that help is going to come in this month. Now, I also want to say, though, that the advice that you're going to get could also be advice to how to overcome this kind of a situation, or how to see the bigger picture when it came to someone who really mistreated you, but in a way where you couldn't speak up, right? Because we've got so many swords cards and reverse the two of swords. That's really important, you know? It's sort of like you have that moment again where you feel like you can't speak up. You can't really say how you really feel, although you have the common sense to bring to the table, you know? It's like this person is just, whoever this other person was, you know, they just like were not, they weren't good. Yeah, so we have the 5 of clubs. Yeah, and so the best way to navigate is to understand that this situation is coming up so that you can change how you think in terms of relationship dynamics where things aren't equal. And so this is the reason why it's circling back around. We keep talking about it, and I really, really feel strongly that that is exactly what's going to happen. I feel that, you know, this situation is trying to teach you that it's time for change. And in order to create the change that you want, it is having you sort of confront all of the fears that you have. And the fears that you have, they have to do with, you know, moving on. You know, sometimes it takes us a moment to move on from situations that we're used to. We're relying sort of on that reaction from that person. We're relying sort of on this reaction that this person, you know, or that behavior that that person has with us. And we are in it and we can't see it. So with the Queen card here, you're going to be able to see it. With the 4 of clubs, it's a blessing. You're going to go into this situation. You're going to see it. You're going to really understand how it's impacted you. But are you willing to look at it? Are you willing to change as a result of it? And that is going to be in your decision-making realm this month. That's the choice that this cycle is bringing to you. You know, hey, you can free yourself. And when you free yourself, guess what? The 9 of Swords says you will transform your fears about, you know, not being recognized for who you are in your heart space, you know, not being recognized for what it is that you can do. That's the 9 of Swords reversed. And we see here the 8 of Hearts is like, you don't have to rely on anyone. It's not that you wanted to rely on this person anyway emotionally, but that's sort of what it felt like. And so here it is just strengthening your heart and making you basically realize that it's not over. You can like commit to your heart. You can commit to your heart and you can deal with any situation and overcome it. 5 of Hearts. You know, the 5 of Hearts, yeah, in the cards of truth, it talks about a crisis situation. True. You know, it could be a crisis. It could be a situation that's not easy emotionally. We have to change. The 10 of Swords reverse says, you know, it has to do with the feeling defeated. It has to do with you feeling like, you know, you've let yourself down, or this person has let you down. And so like, it was like regret or something like that. With the 5 of Hearts, once we dive into what it is that we don't want to acknowledge to ourselves emotionally how we feel, we're moving, we're changing, you know. My experience also has been with the 5 of Hearts that, you know, once we acknowledge how we really feel, it just frees us and lets us, you know, move forward. Yes, we have to grieve a little bit. Yes, we have to find some, you know, moments of sadness there. But the more we feel it, the more we give it up, right? Like the more we see it for what it's worth. And I think that that is what's so important for you during this cycle, Leo. Now let's take a look at the last 2 cards. These are your spiritual messages. Let's take a look at what they're saying to us with everything else that we have discussed. All right, so we have the action card and we have the flow card. And so ultimately, this moon cycle, it is absolutely making you realize that it's time to take action. It is time to flow into emotionally more rewarding situations, moving towards those situations, allowing for those situations to emotionally fill you up, so that when you are laying your head on the pillow at night, you are going to feel quite proud of, you know, what you've overcome and where you're headed now.
And I think that this is a time where it's letting you know, yes, there's still some turbulences here that might be coming your way. There might be still, difficult situations to navigate. A lot of them will have to do with the world. Actually, a lot of it will have to do with sort of on a global sense. It doesn't matter, where you're at, but really the action you're going to be taking out of all of this, I really feel like it is going to restore a sense about you where you feel like you can kind of like emotionally move forward now and close that, chapter. And so that's what I'm seeing here for you, Leo. Let's move on to the next cycle. All right, Leo, so here we see the cards for the next moon cycle. This cycle, just to remind you again, it is going to cover everything from May 11th until June 9th. So May 11th through June 9th, what is it that you're working towards when that new moon in Taurus kicks off? 21 degrees. Now, that new moon is going to be a new moon that is going to ask of you to stick towards building towards the future. You're building towards the future. And what I love about us reading for the seasons like this, you can see the cards from the last reading circling back around, going into different positions of what it is that we're reading. So it's just so beautiful when it falls out. Like, I can't believe it. Every time I'm just like, always just like so like surprised and interested and shocked that the cards come back around, and it's just so beautiful to see it. We had the Six of Cups in the last reading, we had the Four of Swords, we had the Six of Pentacles. So we're taking a look at the cards, but the story is changing. And so what is sort of like all month long, what is it that you are doing, learning, becoming aware of, right? Because it's really just all about becoming aware. Once we get clarity, we have a choice to do something about it. And so here, the Page of Cups, I think all month long is basically saying you are going to be working on understanding how to change your emotions when it comes to your future, and breaking down emotional, very kind of restrictive relationships or emotionally very restrictive situations and experiences that just doesn't work for you anymore. So you're breaking down the walls of those. You are freeing yourself out of that. So the Page of Cups here really talks about you emotionally being a lot more curious about the future and wanting to build towards the future. A lot of you will also be starting up a new project, or you are actually like, there is a desire to get something off the ground. And this will directly impact your legacy. It will impact business. It will impact your career. If you're not working, this might be something that is a huge project and a hobby that you are wanting to build towards, but it has to do with the future, and it has to do also, I do see like networking that will come out of it, or groups of people that you're going to be a part of, everybody having a common goal with the Page of Cups. So ultimately that's what you're working towards, right? Now, the Knight of Swords says lots of things are going to be changing this month. There is a lot that is going to be happening, and you are going to be taking action on new sets of beliefs. So you're going to be believing new things about yourself. We're going to clarify that here in just a moment, but you're going to believe new things. You're going to believe new things about even the future. And even though it's not clear, you are aiming in a new direction. And so this month, you're going to get 3 opportunities to take actions towards this kind of a theme I just mentioned. So this is going to happen, I feel like, towards the mid part of this moon cycle. So I would say probably the end of May. That's going to be like the mid part of this cycle. So the end of May, I see that you're going to be taking a lot of swift action. There is 3 situations that will really work out in your favor. One will have to do with money. One will have to do with sort of a resolution, or trying to rid yourself from something that you own. And then the third part is going to be sort of maybe a new agreement or a purchase or a contract of some sort. And then you're going to be really, really happy with it, because it is going to help you in the future. And not only will it help you in the future, but it looks like you're also trying to support somebody else with this kind of, desire that you've had, this goal that you have, and especially this month. So another thing that I think that you're going to be focusing on as well this month is that you are going to feel like you're in charge again. You're going to feel like you're in charge again. You're going to feel very much like, oh, my gosh, like, thank goodness that this part of my life is over, or this season of my life is over. So emotional clarity continues to work on you, and that is something that you can sort of rely on. Now, I do think that this entire cycle just shows you over and over again that your emotions and your intuition was not misguiding you. It was actually like leading you in the right way. But what was confusing were the relationship dynamics and the things that were unspoken, and it created a lot of confusion. So that is really, really good news. Now, another thing that I do see is that a lot of you will be going back. There is a person that's really, really important to you. This person, okay, so two scenarios. Either this person has passed away and you are going to have sort of an encounter with their like energy. Okay, so what I mean by that is you look at something, a tree, or you're outside, you're looking at a particular plant. I'm giving you some examples, and you feel sort of their energy during that time. And what's going to be really important to notice during that time is that, what are you thinking about? What were you thinking about? What are you doing right in that time? Because that is going to remind you of a particular feeling that has been missing in your life. Okay, a particular feeling that you resulted out of that, out of that relationship. For many of you, I do see that was a beautiful relationship dynamic. And then for some of you, you will be thinking of someone that is in your past, actually, that you haven't spoken to in a really long time. And I do see that you will be thinking about them, and you'll be contemplating about that time that you have spent with this person. And you might actually also contact them. So two different ways I think that this Six of Cups is speaking to me for you. Now, we see the Six of Pentacles. That Six of Pentacles, remember, it was reversed in the second position. So what is that telling us from the Six of Cups to the Six of Pentacles? There is a balance that is coming back. A fear that you have worked out of your system becomes super apparent. You will also be negotiating certain things about your heart purpose. If you are married, if you are in a committed romantic partnership with someone, you will be restoring balance when it comes to how you guys are doing your finances together. There's sort of a cleaning up of that is happening this month. And I think that what is really important here is that you try to not think about it too much, because honestly, what's guiding you is your emotions now. And the ability to make quick decisions is really going to be important here. Does it make sense? If it doesn't make sense, cut it out and come back to where you feel more sort of like this. I'm confident about this. I'm confident about this choice. I'm confident of really, settling down with, moving forward with the finances and how we're spending our money on this and this and that, the other. Now, the second scenario with the Six of Pentacles, since it's a general reading, I try to narrow it down for a lot of you. The second scenario is going to be, the Six of Pentacles basically says that you're going to get a job offer out of nowhere, and it is going to be sort of like a negotiation time. So I think that if you're trying to negotiate something, try not to take too much time. Like, try to be in this place where, if you feel like it is worth your time, or you feel like you need a little bit more money, request it, kind of like that. Okay. I feel like you might want to seclude, or I feel like you might want to go into some kind of like a hermit mode situation. Try not to this month, because everything that you need to know is out in the open. This person is not hiding anything. And I think that that's sort of the rebalancing that is happening from last month, because that situation with the money last month reminded you a lot about, sort of like a blind trust that you gave. But you don't have to worry about that this month. You're just continuing to strengthen towards the future. And that is really, really important to note here as well. Now, I do think that you have to sort of pay attention to your sleeping patterns this month. I don't know why this is coming up for me for you, but there's something here with sleeping patterns. Just make sure you're paying attention to those this month, you know, getting plenty of rest, making sure that you're taking good care of yourself, because there's going to be so much that's going to be going on. Now, we do see the Three of Swords and the Empress card. Those are our last two cards here. I really think that this month is about cutting out certain people you used to cling to, and even certain people that you were talking to. You're going to let that go. And you are going to let go of sort of emotionally showing up for particular things, activities, habits in the day-to-day. You're going to cut that out here. It makes no longer sense. It can't come with you into the future. Now, for some of you, it will be also about cleaning up. So organizing, cleaning, really getting things organized for the future. This will bring a lot more ease. I do see that you are, because you're doing this new project of some sort, or your career life is taking on a whole new meaning. You are going to be able to see the bigger picture. You're going to be able to see what it is that you need to stick to, how you need to organize, and you are going to get a lot done if you just like focus on these aspects I just told you. This is where your strength is going to come out of. So sort of just like organizing, cleaning up, understanding that, you know, there are certain things now that cannot come with you into the future anymore, whether they're physical, whether it's mindset, whether it is sort of something you're doing as a habitual pattern. So let's clarify. I want to clarify the Four of Swords. I also want to clarify the Three of Swords. And then I think we're not going to clarify any more cards because it's a beautiful reading. That's it, right? So the Four of Swords. How do you need to navigate the Four of Swords? Yes. So this will have to do with a fear sort of that you're working out of your system in regards to trusting your relationships and what it is that you share with people. Okay. Maybe there was something that you shared with someone once. It was a sort of a secret, and it pops back up as you're working on this new business deal or career deal or working out finances in partnerships. So when that comes up, you know, what can you let go of that really limits you and kind of puts you into this slowed down version of yourself that you don't like anyway? You know, you don't want to be in this like feeling like trapped inside of this mindset. So that's one thing I think that you're taking a look at. The other thing I think that you're taking a look at, and I don't know why this is coming up for me, for you guys, some of you will be canceling subscriptions. If you have like too many subscriptions this month, you're starting to see where the money drainage was at. You know, I know it's really bizarre, but it just came through, so I'm going to have to mention that. So some subscriptions, like people you were kind of trusting, that now you are realizing, yeah, I don't really need to listen to that anymore. And it could also be a subscription that you didn't pay for, that you're just kind of cleaning things out, you know, throwing, you know, literal like things out, you know, deleting that app, deleting the subscription, not visiting certain, you know, resources anymore, just because it just makes no sense, because the future is now telling you where you're headed. And so when you have that clarity, right, you're able to let go of things much faster. Now, that's what I'm seeing here with the Four of Swords and the Seven of Clubs. Let's clarify the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords. You're healing, you know. This month is definitely about healing. Absolutely. You're healing, you're overcoming. You have clarity. 10 of Clubs, a beautiful card. Not easy because, you know, the clubs, all the black suits and the cards of truth, they're not easy cards. But the 10 of Clubs here basically says, look, you know, a little bit of effort, a little bit more work to do, and you will pave the way forward. That is the message of the 10 of Clubs here. You know, don't give up. The bigger picture is right there. You see it. You can really like, you know how to think about it now. And I think that staying in that place by doing the small things with the Three of Swords, letting go of those ideas, letting go of those things that you just don't want to do anymore because habitual patterns, right, in the day-to-day kind of approach that leave you emotionally sort of up and down and up and down. That is something I think that you're going to be taking a look at and overcoming with the 10 of Clubs. I also feel like maybe there is someone in your life, and I don't know why this is coming through for me, for you. That person is an earth sign and they just know how to handle things like this. And so you're going to get their help, and it's going to create a whole nother level of a bond between you and the other person. So I do see that as well. Let's take a look at your spiritual message here. Beautiful. Yes, this is your gateway. This is the window of opportunity that is open because, May is probably like the best month of the year. After this, there is still some more things we're going to go through in the collective. And so I feel for you, Leo, this is such a golden opportunity to set the course and basically put yourself onto this path that you feel inspired by, you feel passionate about it, you can back it up. And so I think that this gateway card is giving us that validation here. You don't have to doubt it. Already within you, you can trust everything that is coming from within you, that you are on the right path and you will get those spiritual messages all throughout this cycle. Let's move on to the next cycle. All right, Leo. So this is for the eclipse season. It's going to be the new moon Gemini solar eclipse at 19 degrees. Again, this entire reading is going to be the overall general themes, how to navigate through it from June 10th until July 8th. Now, we see two big cards that are reversed. Let's dive right into it, okay? So the moon card reversed. There is a particular wish that you have had for a really long time, that when the moon card is reversed, this month you're sort of discovering that you're in denial about where you actually belong in life and what it is you really want to do. Perhaps all this time, all your energy has gone into things that you felt like you needed to do. You had to sort of defend, and you had to put a lot of work into. I think that what you're realizing overall during this cycle is that you belong somewhere else now. You belong really towards the things that you are spiritually connected to. When I say spiritual, it is going to be like a heart-centered connection, coming back to your source, which is your heart. And so I think here with the Judgment, what we're seeing is that you are going to get an overwhelming sense that it is time to move in that direction. Now, you're starting this process during this cycle. I'm not sure that you're going to complete it, but there is sort of this overall theme that we're seeing here with the cards, that you are not having the kind of fun that you really want to have, and it's getting a new definition. It's sort of like it's a blank canvas right now, and you get to draw on it whatever you want, and that is sort of the I think the thing that's coming up here for you during this cycle. Now I'm going to dive right into clarifying the moon card, and so we already have a card that fell out here. I really do feel that this moon card has a lot to do with what ties into finances as well, or particular skill sets. Something that you're doing that you have a skill for. It could be in the physical sense. It could also be a skill set that is sort of a hobby at this time, that you felt like you couldn't focus all of your attention there because it just wasn't bringing you any money. Something like this is coming up. It just sort of like a very deeply connected wish that you have. This is coming up. You're taking a look at that. you know, once you've worked out certain relationship dynamics there, the last 2 cycles, this cycle, you're, you know, continuing to peel the layers back to, okay, what else do I want to overcome, create, you know, triumph over so that I can, you know, create more fun in my life. Page of Wands, which is what you're headed towards, right? But here with the 7, it could have also been that you had to deal, again, we see that 7 of Clubs, you had to deal with a situation where it just didn't work out. You know, the sevens are interesting cards in the cards of truth, in that in order to deal with the 7, you know, we have to come to terms with what we're learning from the situation, what is no longer worth holding on to. The 7 strikes like a lightning bolt, and it brings you that stop. It brings you the pause. It brings you the, hey, you got to pay attention to this, you know. This maybe emotionally not be a good place to invest into any longer. We've maximized what we could, and we are learning now that we must let something go in order to move on and commit to a new direction, because that new direction is ultimately going to lead us to a much better feeling and a much better relationship to ourselves and to the thing that we're trying to do more of, right? So ultimately more love is in the picture here with the 7. But at the 7s, we are learning that there are some things that will not last. There are some things that will not give us what we're looking for. And so in those moments, even though as personal as it is, we got to let those things go. So you see here that you have 2 cards that say that the power this month is to get very honest with yourself in regards to these themes that I just mentioned. For some of you, it will have to do with what you used to think was your home. Also, I see real estate here. I also see that a lot of you will have to do with attachments to certain things that you were counting on, where you live, okay? Items, for example, like you really always needed that particular orange juice, and you really love that orange juice, but you realize that you're moving away, and so now you will never be able to count on that particular orange juice anymore. I'm giving you a really simple example, but there are some things that I think that you are working towards of letting those things go. And then what also happens is that as you are realizing that those things are coming slowly to an end, you start to realize what kind of attachment maybe certain things have created, and you're coming into a new appreciation to what you actually desire the most, what gives you joy, and you're going to go off and create it and move more towards those things. And it will also have to do with where you belong, right? Like, where do you belong? You could not be getting certain things from certain situations anymore because they just feel dishonest as well. And you could also not be getting that same kind of connection that you're craving with certain people, networks, and environments. And it's becoming so increasingly clear now that you don't belong there. It kind of dampens your energy, and it just is boring, you know, and more than that, disappointing and sad. And so I think that those are some of the themes that might come up here with the Sun card reversed. You're in the present, you are realizing that you're making a very big realization in regards to what robs you of your vitality as well. And it doesn't have to be just like physical. It could just be like the sense of like feeling alive, feeling like you're moving in the right direction, feeling like you're immersed in life, you know, that is allowing for you to, you know, love yourself. That's really the eight of hearts underneath that Sun card reverse. That's what we're taking a look at, like loving yourself, loving your life, you know, feeling strong in who you are, feeling like that you are creating the securities and stabilities and the sort of fixed fire energy, which is all about containing the fire energy and living in it, right? Your own kingdom. The kingdom that you're building, is it true to your heart, right? And so that is what you're working out all throughout this cycle, which is beautiful. So you're just like strengthening these aspects, okay? The Nine of Wands here, I really feel like will have to do with a relationship as well, where you are taking the charge back, or you're sort of defending something within the relationship. And there's two words that come to mind here: be patient and be persistent. Be patient and be persistent, because the outcome is going to be that, you know, this relationship, it feels like you don't want to lose it or anything like that. You love this person, but you may just have like split opinions. Yep, you do. And you have changed your mind about particular, you know, ideas or what you feel like is worth your time. And so you are wanting to change your lifestyle. And so here inside of this relationship, stick to your heart and communicate from your heart, because that is going to ultimately allow for you to, you know, change or make change happen or move towards the things that you are really drawn to. And there's actually a couple of scenarios here that I feel like are going to come up within your relationships where you're going to feel very spontaneous. And I say, take action on the spontaneous things. We see that with the Page of Wands. We see it, that spontaneous, like, I'm drawn to this. I really want to move towards this. That is sort of going to create a new dynamic as well within a particular relationship that you're having maybe disagreements on. And you guys will be working out, like, if you capitalize on those spontaneous moments, you will be able to really meet each other closer, even though you don't have the same mindset. You're going to work it out. There's a third option, right? One option, maybe you thought there was only another option, it was only two options in total, but now a third option will surface, because we've got the Judgment card, and the Judgment card is very powerful here. It is upright, it is on your side, it is helping you all month long. This is where you are going to be protecting also your emotions, or the things that you know within you deeply, like a deep, very, like, it's a truth for you that you must move towards this thing. And that is becoming really visible to you now, you know. I also would say, for a lot of you Leos, pay attention to your dreams this month. Your dreams will give you some clues, you know. There's going to be some symbolism in your dreams. Some of the symbolism is going to be nature related. Yep. Some of the symbolism is going to be nature related. You're going to find the solution to a money situation. Look at that. Because you have some fear. You still have some fear. It's like if you have made a change in career, if you've made sort of changes to finances, and it maybe didn't come back to you as quickly as possible or as quick as you thought, the Five of Pentacles here says that if you spend too much time trying to figure it out, trying to improve this thing, you're going to miss listening or learning new ways. Try not to get too caught up in, like, I have to improve it, I have to fix it. If there's something where you're experiencing a lack of solution when it comes to your finances or how to make that one thing happen, be more open-minded and keep focusing on what the best case scenario for you looks like. Because often I find with the Five of Pentacles, and here with the combination of the Jack of Diamonds, this is about you really learning new ways. There's another way. And that is sort of the trap this month, is that you're going to think that there is no other way, but there is. And that is where you believe is sort of maybe under a bit of a, you know, growth challenge. So it's squeezing you to pay attention to the way that in which you maybe haven't considered before. And so that is going to be really important here as well. I think that you're going to realize that fairly quickly. There is a breakthrough moment, and the number 9 plays a big role. That's another thing that's coming through here for me, for you. The number 9 plays a really big role. Page of Wands. We don't even have to clarify it. Really, I feel like for you, Leo, this month is like, can you please have some fun? What happened? You know, why are you not having fun? So the Page of Wands here wants you to explore and just like, you know, you see that woman just fully express. She's like throwing the wand up into the air, like find the things that feel magical to you and pay attention to those things. Like, what is it that makes you feel alive? What is sort of pulling you? What direction are you pulled towards? What store do you want to go in? What place you want to go eat at? What, you know, thing do you want to do? That is the solution this month. It solves in a way, it dissolves in a way, this sort of limitation that you're still working out, this sort of thing where your vitality gets robbed, you know, like dancing. For a lot of you, it will be dancing and music or situations with live music, something like that. Of course, you know, I know some of you will not be in a situation where you might be able to go somewhere, but you could also be creating that scenario maybe within your home or something in your like smaller environment. So I think that that is going to be a really, really important thing, that you are sort of in a place where just let your boundaries down a little bit when it comes to having fun, not with particular people. I'm talking about having fun. I'm talking about like letting your sort of moment of just, I want to just go do this thing, drive you and lead you in a way and guide you in a way, because it's going to feel very sort of filled with mystery and sort of a moment of magic that will allow for you to come back to feeling alive, which is what we're doing here, right? Feeling alive, committing to your heart, committing to the things you love. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing here all throughout the month. I really don't see too much difficulty in the sense that there's going to be a lot more relationship stuff. I don't see that. I really see that you are kind of through some of the majority of the relationship dynamics here that have been rather difficult. You're moving on. That's what this month is about. You're moving on. You're deepening your experience with that future that you're creating. So that's what I'm seeing here. Now let's take a look at your spiritual messages. Beautiful. Illumination, which is what we've talked about, right? So what the month is illuminating for you is, what is it that you're not being honest about within yourself? What is it that you're wanting to do more of? And that is where you will actually find this stillness. Now, the stillness is represented with the swan, and the swan is part of the symbolism of love, actually. It is about mastering the art of positivity that also then brings great beauty into your life. And we're not just talking about like beauty in the sense of like physical. We're talking about beauty in the sense of what bonds you, right? What you're drawn towards, the things that make you feel really good. Another thing that I'm seeing here is that with the swan has a part about itself where it does want to drive away people who are not like on the same page. So if you have people in your life that are not on the same page, this is going to get illuminated and you're going to be driving that out of your life. Like, there's no questions asked about it. You want to drive that out of your life and you don't want to have that be a part of your life anymore. So you will be protecting what is like illuminated for you this month, which is more love, more bonding with the things in your life that really bring you that ultimate joy, heart connection. If you're single, I also want to say that love is in the air for you. You know, you might not be quite committed yet, but love is in the air. For everyone who is in a committed relationship, you are going to be rebooting your relationship in a very big way. We see it with the Two of Hearts here in the Judgment. We see that the swan is representing that as well. And I also want to just remind you of this. Remember to really look within you for what you find most beautiful about yourself. This is going to remind you of who you are. And it might not be easy at times because you're dealing with some things that are restrictive, but if you remind yourself of what you find most beautiful about yourself, it could be anything, right? Let that be something that you put somewhere, like on a post-it note or you put it somewhere where you're reminded of it, reminded of what you are capable of, what you bring to the table. And I also feel like that this is going to remind you of the parts about you that maybe are looking for the keywords of forgiveness, which, you know, forgiveness was something I think that was surfacing for you in that winter reading. And I think that the swan is representing the next level here, which is if you have certain emotions towards people who kind of, you know, were in the way of you kind of living your life the way that you wanted to. And if that was a scenario that you've experienced here, then, you know, right now in this cycle, you get this moment to understand that you don't have to feel that kind of an anger towards that anymore. And that forgiveness will bring you back and remind you that it's never too late to basically create the life that you are envisioning and moving more towards it. We're all doing that, you know, that's why we are in this, you know, cycle over cycle over cycle, because we're strengthening so many different aspects of our lives over and over again. That's what we signed up for. So I think that, you know, the swan is a beautiful representation of that, that you're coming back to that strength, really claiming your power.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. I appreciate that you're here on my channel. If you like my work, then subscribe, ring the bell. It notifies you every time I put out a new reading so you don't miss anything. And I will see you guys in the next video.